Hey, Jose, how's it going?
Hello, Farhan. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. This is my first hangout for today.
That's awesome. You haven't done any other classes today?
Not really.
Not
I
really.
have been a little busy.
Nice.
Now
Well,
I can take a rest now.
yeah, welcome. Absolutely. Hey, Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. Were you busy today? Was it a busy day for you, Heidi?
My errand was already finished.
Nice. Did you go for a walk?
No, I went to the clinic again for my treatment.
Yeah, for your arm, right?
Yeah,
Nice. Is it feeling better?
yeah, much better than yesterday. I don't have any pain now.
Great. Fantastic. Good to hear that. Hey, Lisa, how's it going?
Hey Farhan, I'm doing good. What about you?
Good, good. It's a very nice day today. It's a little bit rainy here, but very calm, and it's a nice night. So I can't wait to finish all my work and go to sleep. Friday tomorrow.
Yes, finally,
The best
almost
day of the
weekend.
week. Exactly.
Yeah.
Friday's the best day. Hey, Grigori, how's it going?
Thank you. It's good. How are you?
Good, good, good to see you. How was your day? How's your week so far this week?
It was regular, ordinary week, not something special.
Nice, fantastic. Nothing special is sometimes good,
Yes,
right? Yeah, we don't want
it's
things to
it's
get too
always
crazy.
good. It's always good.
Yep, fantastic. Hey, Saul, how's it going?
Hi, yeah, how are you? Fine, you?
Good, good. How is life in Nicaragua, I think, right?
Yeah. How is the pronoun of your name?
Farhan.
Farhan.
Farhan,
Far
yeah. Yeah.
Farhan. Sorry.
Maybe in Spanish it would be written like this.
Farhan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Farhan.
So, yep, that's things have been good. Things have been good here. How you haven't joined one of my classes in a long time, Saul.
Yes, and the problem is your classes are too late,
I know.
and only I can join the class be between 7 to 9 p.m. in my country, and your classes are at the 10, 11, 9,
Yeah.
night, in the night, I don't know how to say it,
In the late
night,
late night, right?
yeah, yes, late night.
In the late night, uh-huh. So actually, lucky for you, Saul, and for anybody else, I'm going to be changing my schedule. So I will, in 2 weeks, I'll be teaching 5 hours, 3 or 4 hours a day, actually, 4 hours a day for most days. So I'll have two classes in the early morning, and I'll also have two classes in the afternoon, or in the evening. So depending on when people can join, I'll have more options to join my classes.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, you
Uh,
guys can.
in the evening, like this time?
Yeah, in the evening it's going to be this time and then 1 hour from now. So remember how before I always had the class at 10 o'clock?
Yeah,
I'll
you
have
change it.
the I'll have the 9 o'clock and the 10 o'clock in about 2 weeks.
Oh,
And I'll also have 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning.
oh, nice.
So that way people, if they want, they can get both ends of the day, the late night and the early morning. But the middle of the day I still need for work and other stuff. But I've organized the end of the night and the beginning of the day to be just for Colingo. So hopefully that works out. If you guys find out that it's still not a good schedule, then I can check how my work schedule is can be changed so that I
You
can take more classes.
begin now 1 hour early. This was good for me.
Yeah, right. So in the future, in about 2 weeks, I'll have this class and the class that was 1 hour later from now. So I'll have
I see.
2 hours. Yeah, back to
Oh,
back 2 hours.
okay.
Yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very fun. So let's get started, guys. We have a good group of people here already. And today we're going to be talking about something actually that is a very important issue in the world internationally, which unfortunately I think in many countries we don't learn too much about, or we don't really know about, right? And this is the issue of child labor, right? There are many countries in the world where children, instead of going to school, because of the situation, because of the economic situation, because of the social situation, they have to work for a living, even though they are, children still. They are under the age of 16, 15, And we're going to be studying modals of obligation, right? Modals of obligation we use in English to describe situations that we uh, describe the mood of a verb, like ability, possibility, other conditions, right? And obligations are used particularly if you want to make a commitment, if you want to say that something should be required of people, right? It's a way of saying things are required, goals that you set for yourself, right? Goals and objectives that you set for yourself. Those are all examples of modals of obligation. And we're going to be looking at specific types. Three examples are have to, right? Like I have to do something. And then must is another example. And then the final example is should, right? So we're going to be looking at these types of examples of modals of obligation. Before we get started with that, guys, I have a question for all of you. And that question is, should we do more to protect children against unfair labor practices, right? Unfair labor laws, right? And they exist in many parts of the world. Maybe they exist in your country, maybe they exist in a neighboring country, right? Should we do more to protect children from these kind of unfair practices? Let's start with Saul, actually.
Um, Certainly we need to do more, but the problem is you can do more without the help of the government, because the government have the responsibility to create an environment, uh, per, a perfect environment for the child.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents, for example, if in my country, that you will, and you can see a lot of that kind of child working on the street and the traffic light. So the problem is the parents are people that live in the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a job, so they come to the city, and they bring to their children to the city, and here they can't find a job. So the only way, the only thing that they can do is 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 put their children to work in the traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
So, yeah, go
yes,
ahead, Saul. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's in part it falls from the government,
Uh-huh.
but we need to help them with, I don't know, ONG or centers to take care of them.
Uh-huh. Absolutely, right. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Saul, and also, for your particular experience that you see, for example, in your country, where some children are forced to, work near the traffic lights, handing. I've seen it even in the U.S. Maybe not children, but younger people or people who are very poor. They, for example, are selling flowers or food, maybe like vegetables or something on the street when the cars are stopped at the traffic light, right? And I agree with you, Saul. I think we should do more.
But I have a question. But
Yeah.
if you are a child and in your parents don't have money to food or to feed you,
Hmm.
and they tell you, we need to work in a traffic light. That is considered a bad thing because you are working to get food. Even if your parents don't want to force you, it's the only option. So it's bad that I don't think so because you need to eat. You need to do something.
I agree. That's a good point, right? It's not about force really, it's about necessity,
Yes.
right? If you don't have food, then do you send your child to school or do you send your child to work, right? I think that's the ultimate question. So it's a bigger problem. I agree, you know. But I am also thinking about the children in this case, Saul. Is it really the children's responsibility to feed their family, right? I mean, is it really the child's responsibility to work when, you know, in my personal opinion, I think the parents are responsible, right? The child needs an education. But we will talk about this much more in this article, Saul.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing, absolutely. Yulisa, what do you think? Should we do more to protect the rights of children?
Yes, sure. I think we should do more. Over here, even though this problem is decreasing, it is still a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has to do with the education too, because especially in the rural areas, the level and the quality of education is not so good compared to the urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
So the childs sometimes don't have teachers who help them to motivate them to study, or or sometimes the teachers don't get to those areas because of the distances. It's difficult to access.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes that these children stop going to school, and they prefer to be helping their parents in the activities like agriculture instead of going to study. So
Mm-hmm.
I think in this point it would be necessary to improve this quality of education so that the children can be engaged more to their studies, to feel that yes, they want to learn. Sometimes the materials used are not also according to the lifestyles of these children.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the parents are too. They should be sensibilizar. How can I say that?
They should be sensitive to the children's, I
Yeah,
guess. Uh-huh.
sensitivity. Yeah,
They should have sensitivity,
sensibilizar.
uh-huh. Sensitivity, or they should be sensitive, right?
Yeah, because like you said, to feed a family is the responsibility of the parents.
Uh-huh.
And if we put our children to work, then this will decrease their performance in their studies. They
Mm-hmm.
have less hours for studying, for playing. That is also an important part of their growing.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ulysses, I made a mistake. Sensibilidad is sensibility. Sorry about that. A little bit different, yeah. Sensibility. So, yeah, you know, I agree 100%, Ulysses. I mean, I agree with everyone so far. There are so many reasons, right, behind why we see these issues in the world, and education is a big one. You know, I think education is a very important one. Jose, let's jump to you real quick. What do you think?
I think that, of course, we always can do more to take care of our children. But as said Saul and Julissa, here we have a social problem. What if the family has not enough money to feed their family, the children? What to do with those children? But at the same time, what to do when we face that situation? When we see a child on the street, an 8 years old child,
Mm-hmm.
children selling their candies, what we should do maybe to support his child buying some candies. Maybe we are supporting him in this moment, but we are encouraging this situation. So it's a little difficult.
It's a
And
double-edged
of course,
sword,
yes,
right?
definitely.
Uh-huh.
And there's another situation, for example, when you see a woman carrying a baby, and asking for money for charity. But in this case, we have seen that many of those are hiring those babies. And in many cases, they are not their own babies; they are only hiring.
Wow.
So this is a business indeed, and we're encouraging this woman to hiring these babies or having their own babies because they look this as a business for them.
Mhm.
Once the baby grow up, when he has 2 years maybe, they need to have another baby to keep on having their business.
That's
So it's a
ridiculous.
little tricky, of course.
You know, in India, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, right? Slumdog Millionaire has some good parts. Me, as a person from the Indian subcontinent, I was not very happy with this movie because at the end of the day, it was a white guy who made the movie, and todo el mundo was like, "Oh my God, gringo," like made the movie about all these like Indian people and stuff. So it wasn't an amazing movie from the Indian perspective, but they did show, for example, that in India what they do is sometimes they actually take a child and they blind that child. Okay, they actually blind the child so that the child can become a beggar and can get more money because he's blind. Right? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a crime against humanity. It's a crime against children, or that particular child in this case,
Sorry,
right?
what does it blind?
Blind is if you can't see, right, Gregory? So if somebody blinds you, then they destroy your eyes, so you can't see,
Oh,
right? So in India, they have these local, terrorists. They go into the communities. They find maybe orphan children or children that are begging, and they say, "Oh, come here, I'll give you candy," and they use a surgical something. They put it in the kid's eye, and the kid becomes blind, right? Once they do that, the child can bring in more money because, I mean, if you are walking in the street and a blind child comes to you and wants money, I mean, you'd have to be very cruel to not give a blind child money, right? But I mean, where does this money go? This money is going to the mafia boss, right? To the main guy in the barrio, or in the neighborhood, right? That's the problem. So in India, this situation is rampant. Every street, every corner of every street has children who are begging and who are facing these unbelievably difficult times, right? Heidi, let's hear from you.
Yeah, maybe it was 2 years ago. I read an article. It was then about Indonesia, if my memory is right.
Uh-huh.
In Indonesia, there's a very big factory making shoes for Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Only making shoes for Nike. They had a lot of child labor. Child labor was sold from their parents. Parents were living in the countryside. Their income was very few, so they are fighting with their life. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they sell their own children. Then in the Nike shoes maker, it's not a different company with Nike, but
Mm-hmm.
they make only Nike shoes. Labor, child labor working in that place over 15 hours a day.
Wow.
They were given a very poor meal. They are sleeping in the same room, very uh, poor room, dark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They they can't they can't have any education. If they want to run away from that place, when they get adult or 18 years, but they can't get a good job in outside because they don't have any education.
Mm-hmm.
About Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had a contract with Nike shoes. He's a kind of iconic of company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he received a lot of money from Nike. The money came from child labor. The
Mm-hmm.
article said, is it good or Jordan is insensitive it's kind of question. My friend said, Jordan has responsibility to know where that money comes. But I said,
He doesn't care.
I
Michael
said,
Jordan doesn't care. Yeah.
so I said, Jordan doesn't have a responsibility. We had that argument.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult, right? You have celebrities. So in English, these factories, you know, Heidi, that you mentioned, like in Indonesia, in other countries, there are these factories where children are making shoes, right? In English, we actually call these factories sweatshops. Sweatshops, right? So it's a place where, you know, people are sweating day in and day out, 24 hours a day. You have children, or you have young people, or you have old people, whatever. Whoever has two hands and can work, right?
Yeah.
Sweating and working 15, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day, right? So we call these establishments sweatshops in English. Gregory, what do you think? I think Israel doesn't have a problem with child labor as much, but maybe you have other experiences about this.
You're right. We have law, and I don't remember for which age children begin working. Maybe from 14 or 15. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Before this age is not acceptable. No one takes the work to child.
Mm-hmm.
And what I hear in this class is terrible things when children need work too hard. Sure, I against it, and we should fight against this problem and improve this problem. But I think about other situation when father has a little business, or not little business, own business, and
Mm-hmm.
child help to his father and to his family. I not see in this situation something wrong. It's good for educate child
Mm-hmm.
because our children have a great childhood and playing and learning and have a friends and not doing nothing. So it's bad. It makes them lazy. And when say grown up, they don't want work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think not so much, but a little is help to educate child, um, make him uh,
Understand the importance of work, right?
not only understand habit of work, because
Habit of work.
when I was 15, I come to work in the summer. It was very good. It was nice. Not something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I
Uh,
agree.
but not work hard, not for surviving, only for education, only for understand what is it.
You know, I agree, Gregory, and I think that's a very important thing. So another word that we can use in English to describe exactly what you were talking about, Gregory, is work ethic, right? So we say in English, if somebody has good work ethic, they understand that work is important, right? They understand that they need to pay attention to work. They need to, you know, perform their tasks on time. They need to be responsible for work, right? And it's a good skill. If you teach a child or a young person, maybe a teenager, good work ethic, then it's something that they can carry with them to their professional lives, whatever they do after they, you know, finish school or during school, right? Um, it's a learning experience for them, right?
Maybe
So
it's help them
definitely.
in the future choose the profession.
Yeah, it could definitely help them choose a profession, right? So we say, I mean, in English, of course, in the U.S. and I'm sure in other countries, people do internships, people do all sorts of things. Even the teenagers in high school, right? They do internships and they are meeting people, learning about different types of jobs, and developing that work ethic, right? It's very important. It's very important. So I agree with all of you guys. Let's take a look at the grammar part of this class, guys, and then we will jump into the article. I'm not going to spend too much time on the grammar because I think I've had all of you guys in class before, and we've had this lesson before. But when we talk about modals of obligation, so we have three types, right? We can use the word must, right? And must is really used for a strong personal obligation, right? I must do this before Friday night, right? I must complete this homework before Friday night, right? I must help my mother because she is sick, right? So these are very strong way of saying you have to do something, right? You have an obligation, right? Um, Today I must finish my homework that is due tomorrow, right? Very serious situations. And we can also use mustn't, right? Must not or mustn't, right? I must not drive over the speed limit, right? Because doing so is illegal, right? So I must not drive over the speed limit. Hey, Alberto, welcome back, man. I thought you left because you were bored.
No, sorry, Farhan. I had some problems with my internet connection. I'm back.
No worries, man. Do you mind sharing your ideas about child labor, and then we'll jump back to the grammar lesson?
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
as my friends mentioned,
Uh-huh.
it's a really bad thing. I think children need to play, need to study, and sometimes are the parents who force them to work. I know some situations where the parents don't work, they are lazy people, and they force their children to work. And I think that's not fair. I think they should be responsible for their education and for their feelings. Uh, I think also many governments or many countries have some laws about in order to punish the child labor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all.
Yeah, so it's a similar situation, right? I think, I mean, we touched on a lot of different things. We touched on government responsibility. We touched on family responsibility, right? And as well as, I think, Gregory brought up a great point that we're not saying people shouldn't, children shouldn't work. We're saying that the experience should be educational, the experience should be life building, lifelong learning, right? It shouldn't be something that is mandated or forced for survival, right? So those are all fantastic points, guys. So Alberto, welcome back. We're just going over some of the quick ways of using modals of obligation. So the one that I talked about was must. Must is a very strong obligation. I must do something. I must finish this, right? A weaker one that's not as strong as must is have to, right? I have to get up from I have to get up in the morning at 8 o'clock every day, right? Even if you don't get up at 8, it's not horrible, but maybe it's important, but it's not something like as important as must, right? Must would mean very important for you to wake up at 8 in the morning. I must wake up at 8 in the morning, right? Have to is a little less strong. And then the weakest form, not weak really, but the form that is a more mild way, not a very strong way of using obligation, is to say should, right? If somebody is unhealthy, you can tell them you should try to eat more healthy foods, right? You should exercise more, right? Um, if a girl comes to you and says she hates her boyfriend, everything is bad, then you can maybe say you should date someone else, right? So these are all examples. We use should in many ways when we want to offer a suggestion to somebody, right? It's not a very strong way to say, you should do something, you should work on this. The opposite of should is should not, right? So you should not eat unhealthy food, for example. And then the opposite of have to is, let's ask Saul, what's the opposite of have to?
Um, I hadn't.
Haven't, right? Or I have not, right?
I have not. Yeah.
Or you don't have to, I guess you do not have to. Have to and do not have to, right? So those are the two examples, right? Not do not have to and have to. And then for must, it's I must or I must not, right? Must versus must not. And then should versus should not, right? So let me ask you guys a quick question then. Let's say somebody is, um, I'll start with Alberto. Alberto, let's say somebody is at home and they are not they're not doing anything. Actually, no. Let me change it. Let's say you're talking to one of these lazy parents that you talked about, right? What would you tell them? Would you use must, should, have to? Just give me an example.
You must start working in order to help your children.
You must start working in order to help your children. Fantastic, right? Gregory, give me an example of what you would tell a child who is lazy, who's just playing all day, and doesn't have any work ethic. What would you tell that child?
You should make your homework all day without excuses and pretexts.
You should, for example, do your homework, right? You should do your homework, and you should not make excuses, right? Because children love to do excuses, but excuses are never good, right? Fantastic. So you used should because you're offering a suggestion to a child, right? Heidi, what about you? What would you tell, for example, Michael Jordan, if you could speak to him today?
You should know about labor, child labor, and they are making like shoes. You earn money from them.
Are you sure you would use should? You wouldn't use have to or must? I think you feel strongly about this.
You should.
You should? Okay. Maybe if you were very very strongly affected by this and you wanted to tell Michael Jordan you must know about, you know.
My friend would say you must.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's the difference in opinion we have, right? Okay. So you must versus you should, right? Fantastic. Jose, give me an example of what you would say to the government in Peru to solve the situation.
Oh, you must be more efficient by using the money, our money.
You must be more efficient in the use of our money, or when you use our money, right? Good. I think governments don't care, I think, if people say that, but it's still something that we should definitely say, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, what would you say to, for example, a child who has no choice but to help his or her parents because the parents don't have any jobs?
Well, to the child, I don't. What can I say to the child?
What should the child do in that situation? Should the child, you can work with that.
Yeah. The child should be going to school instead of being working. Now, and the problem is not the money, because now schools are also free. But there is a thing about parents don't send them to school. They prefer to have them at home working.
So what would you tell the parents?
You have to send your kids to school, because that's a way to show them your love.
Wow. I think that's effective, right? Will any parent say, I don't love my child, right? Maybe a bad parent, right? But, that's a good way of thinking about it. That's a great way to think about it. Saul, what do you think? Let's say you are talking to one of these children who are in the street near the traffic light. What would you tell them?
You should be in home or in your school instead of selling candy in the traffic light.
And what if the child says, I have no option, I have to do this? What would you tell the child at that point?
Tough questions.
I'm being difficult. I'm
Um,
always difficult. I always ask tough
uh,
questions. Yeah.
um, uh, you you have to ask your father to why you are not in the school, and in your parent must to register you in the school.
Yeah, your father has to register you in school, right?
Yes.
That's a good way of thinking about it, right? Have to, so have becomes has in this case. Your father has to. Um, or maybe in a more strong example, your father must, right? Those are all good ways of thinking about it. So, great job, guys. Do we have any questions about just the beginning, what we talked about with the modals of obligation? We have must not, should not, and we have not, or have and do not have to, right? I have to versus I do not have to, or she has to versus she does not have to, right? Do we have any questions about these obligations and what we talked about so far?
No.
Okay, Sal's good. What about you guys? Everyone else is good? Alberto, you're the only one I can see, so.
I'm good. It's okay
Okay.
for me.
Okay, fantastic, guys. If you guys do have questions, let me know, but I know we're running a little behind. I just want to start the article and then quickly be able to discuss some of the questions that I had for the article. So let me go ahead, guys, and I'll paste the article link here so you guys can click it, and then we can start looking at it. So I don't know if we're going to be able to read all of it. Let's see. I don't know how many of you were in my class yesterday, but I was talking about NPR.org. I think it is the best news website in the entire country, in the U.S. Extremely good reporting, and I really like their news. So today we are looking at UN. The UN says, the United Nations, child labor is down, but 168 million children still work, right? So let's take a look here. This is in Pakistan, right? This is near Islamabad, Pakistan, and we have here a 6-year-old kid is arranging bricks, right? This is his daily job, and he earns less than $2 per day, right? This kid is only 6 years old, right? Look at all those bricks. I probably can't do that, and I'm 24, right? So he is 1/4 my age, and he's probably working twice as many hours. So the trend is good. The global number of child laborers has declined by 1/3 since 2000. But that still means there are an estimated 168 million child laborers around the world, and more than half are involved in hazardous work. What does hazardous mean? Jose, what does hazardous mean?
I have no idea.
Hazardous means dangerous, right? It's another way of saying dangerous. If something is a hazard, it's a danger. So hazardous is dangerous, right? More than half are involved in hazardous work involving such things as dangerous machinery and harmful chemicals, right? Those are the top line conclusions of a new International Labor Organization report. The UN agency says that even the latest improved rate of decline is not enough to achieve the goal of eliminating the worst forms of child labor by 2016. According to the report, though, this recent progress is very welcome news, as there were fears that the social hardship caused by the global economic crisis of 2008 to 2009 and its aftermath could result in an increase in the number of families resorting to child labor in order to make ends meet. So what is this? This part is a little complicated, right? What is it saying? It's saying that the International Labor Organization released a report, right? And the first part of the report is not very optimistic. The first part is kind of pessimistic. It's saying that even with this decline in child labor, we will not be able to reach the goal that the UN, I think the United Nations, set a goal that by 2016, all the worst forms of child labor should be eliminated, right? We don't think that will happen. We don't think we're doing as good a job as we should. But this news is still very good news because people thought it would be much worse because of the economic crisis in 2008 to 2009. So it's not the best news, but it's not bad news either, right? The decline in child labor has taken place against the backdrop of a sustained global movement against child labor involving a multiplicity of actors and efforts at a variety of levels. The report identifies a number of actions that have driven progress, including political commitment of governments, increasing number of ratifications of the ILO Convention number 182, blah, 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 whatever, right? No one cares. So it's saying that some of the positive reasons that have driven progress, that have led to progress, include political commitment of governments, right? That's something that we mentioned when we were talking earlier. The largest number of children, about 78 million, work in the Asia-Pacific region, the ILO says. The Wall Street Journal adds that activists have attributed at least part of the decline to stepped-up pressure from big consumer product companies that feared getting caught with underage workers abroad, right? So it's saying, this last part is saying that activists for child labor are saying that, oh, you know what? This decline in the number of child laborers is because these big consumer product companies, so Heidi, you were saying Nike, for example, these companies are now afraid of getting caught with underage workers. So they maybe are stopping underage labor to a small extent, and that has led to less children working, right? So we have an interesting situation here. What we hear in this article is not the best news, but it's not bad news, right? We want to, our objective should be better news. Let's start with a question for us now, and I think we can probably use this question to spend the rest of our time. What can we do as common citizens or as people who are educated? What can we do to help the United Nations maybe reach this goal of eliminating the worst forms of child labor by 2016? We have 3 years, right? Are there things that we can do? Is it possible for us, common people, activists, to do something that can make a change? Alberto, let's start with you.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe we could create a group of people dedicated to help the children. Maybe these organizations could feed poor kids, or I don't have so many ideas about this topic. But me as a person, I would try to maybe start a business and try to help people find jobs, and in that way help their families. But I think it's a very difficult topic, a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah. What did you think about the article? Did you think the article was realistic in what it was saying, or do you think it's realistic to solve the child labor problem in just 3 years?
I would say that not. I think it's not realistic because there are many factors that influence child labor in the world. I think that even there are some situations where there is bad people that they force children to work, and I'm not sure if they can fight against all of these things.
All those forces, right? There are too many of these forces.
Yes.
Yeah. Gregory, what do you think? I mean, first of all, what do you think about the article? Do you think the article is realistic? Was it surprising for you?
It's not surprising for me. I understand the situation in poor countries, and I think the second part of a proven situation in 3 years not realistic at all. All time they have poverty and poor people, nothing to do with it, and low culture. We have pay attention of world public to children problem, and we have speak a lot of this. Maybe the society in rich countries make help for poor children and make organization for helping to poor children, and all occasions to reveal and help to children directly. But it's so much children, and in these circumstances it's not real to help to each other. Maybe some of children's, yes.
And you know what I think is actually really interesting is, you know, I liked what both of you guys were saying. The approach needs to be a focused approach, right? We can't really tackle this problem by saying something general like, oh, we have to talk to the parents or we have to talk to the children, right? I think one of the things that we talked about before was education, right? So, like Alberto, you said maybe you can start a business and you can employ people, right? What if we just take our own, you know, free time and use that time to just volunteer to, you know, children in our community, for example, and give them basic tools, right? The basic tools of learning, right? Maybe teaching them the basics that they would otherwise receive in the school. Maybe we can give it to them as just, you know, in a small classroom or whatever. I mean, it would have to be a voluntary thing because they can't pay. But, you know, it's, I don't know. I mean, when we talk about internships and volunteering and a lot of these things in the U.S., we go to poor neighborhoods where the children don't have good schools, and we teach them, you know. I think it's a good approach. I mean, maybe you guys can talk about that. But before that, Heidi, what do you think about the article, and what do you think we can do to change the situation by 2016, or is it unrealistic?
There are many invisible cases. Many factories still using child labor. You mentioned about India. I read another article. It was a carpet factory. They had a lot of child laborers. Even India, they are poor family. They can't eat enough food. So parents sell the own children to the factory. But even parents thought it's a very good thing because children can't eat in their house. So if they work in the company, maybe they thought children can eat, at least they can eat every meal. So, and even parents can receive some money. Then parents send them to the company. But actually, it's only 5 or 6 years old children. They have big scissors on their small hand. Sometimes they cut off their finger. And the factories are very dusty because of the carpet factory. Then sometimes they got injured or sickness. Meal is very poor, so they can't grow up enough. They don't have any education. They want to run away, but no place they stay in the outside. Only that place is the place they stay. No, it's very poor situation, but no one knows about that. I read articles, so I got to know about that. Before that, I didn't know about the child labor. So we can't do anything because I'm not activist. But at least we should know about that information. Then media should report in that case as much as they can, right?
Yeah, and what I think is good is, the media has been reporting, right? We do now have Nike, for example. If you go to a major company like, let's say, Gap, Nike, Adidas, like one of these big clothing companies, and if you tell them their worst nightmare is to be associated with child labor, right? Because now in the era of Facebook and Twitter and all of this stuff, right? If a social movement takes place, it can dislodge a company from importance, right? It can really destroy a company's image. If somebody says, "Oh, Nike uses child labor. Here's the proof," right? I went to the factories and I videotaped this, and now it's on YouTube, and now anyone can see it, right? So I guess we don't have to be activists, but I like your idea that as long as we are educated about what is going on, we can maybe raise awareness about this, right?
Yes, yes.
Like kind of what we're doing today, we're raising awareness. We're saying, hey, did you know 168 million children are still working, for a living? Nobody knows. I mean, NPR, like I said, who listens to NPR, right? Americans are idiots. We watch CNN, right? We watch the dumbest channels. CNN is never going to report this stuff, right? They have their own agenda. They don't care. NPR, National Public Radio, it's made by people, for people, and it's of the people, right? So that's why I really enjoy this, this channel. They also have a radio station that I think you guys will really enjoy. A good way to practice English listening is listen to NPR's radio, right? They have extremely good, very good programs. Anyway, enough about NPR. They're not paying me. It seems like they might be, right? Anyway,
the NPR radio is online.
Yeah, npr.org. Yeah, you can listen to the reports. You can listen to their radio programs. Very, very good. I mean, whenever I'm in the car and I'm driving somewhere, I always put NPR.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they give you really good news, right? So anyway, Yulisa, sorry about the NPR stuff. What about you? What do you think about this? About the article, and then also about what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the article, I think that it's not so realistic. We have only 3 years to eliminate the child labor. I think that won't happen in this period of time.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think it'll take? I'm just curious. How long do you think it'll take?
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think anyone knows, honestly.
Yeah, because how can you assure that new parents that are coming, they won't do the same with their children?
It's a generational thing, right?
This has also to do with the responsibility before deciding to have a child. If you know that you will not be able to pay for their studies, to give them food, their health secure insurance, then how? You are not ready to have a child, and you have, unfortunately, couples that are having children without responsibility.
That's a big part of it, right? Family planning is a big part.
Family
planning. Go ahead, Elisa. You were saying other stuff. So the article, you don't think it's realistic, and then what can we do?
Well, like you said, to be aware, to know that this is happening, and not to see it as something normal, because sometimes it happens that, for example, I'm in the bus or in the street walking, and I see a child that is selling candies, and sometimes we see it as, oh, well, this is something like it's normal, but I think that's wrong. We should change that way to see that, because that's
we should change it. We should change that mentality, right? Excuse me, guys, one second.
Yeah.
We should change that mentality, right, Elisa?
Right. Not to see it as something that it's, okay, this happens, it's the same. And probably if we don't buy, I think Jose was mentioning, if we don't buy what they are selling,
Mm-hmm.
In that way, maybe we are not encouraging that they continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Although sometimes you feel like buying them, you are helping them, but maybe it's not the best way to help.
Yeah, yeah, honestly, like in India, the situation is so horrible that you're giving the money to a child, the child will never get that money, right? Because at the end of the day, the chief, the the mafia boss, he takes the children's money and he maybe gives them 1% or 10% of what 10% is a dream come true. Maybe just he gets 100 rupee. In India, the money is rupee. He gives them 1 rupee, the child 1 rupee. You can't do anything with 1 rupee. You can't buy even a piece of bread with 1 rupee, right?
They are
So
being exploited.
it's a business. Yeah, they're being exploited like crazy, right? It's the situation, and nobody cares. I mean, India, what do? We watch Bollywood movies, right? So one of the biggest things that Indian actors are trying to do is they're trying to show these social problems in the movies, right? And some of them have become very successful. The movies have become very successful. But how much actual change has this led to? No one knows, right? People are sentimental. People go to the movie and they're crying. Oh my God, this is so sad. But it doesn't translate to action, right? That's, I think, the most difficult problem about all of this. Saul, last but not least, sir, what do you think?
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the article is unrealistic, and you can change that problem in 3 years because involve change government, change uh, company cultures, and you have a problem of education, you have a problem
Mhm.
of employees, you have a lot of problems that involve, and you need to change everyone. So
Mhm.
difficult. The only thing that we can do is minimize the problem or reduce the problem and uh, or reduce the problem.
Mhm.
We can take all child that we can and teach them, educate them, and make them better person to the future because they will change the things in the future because right
Mhm.
now we can do nothing about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the UN is trying to do, right? I think what the governments are, or what the UN is trying to do, maybe to reach this goal, even though we have all agreed that it's an unrealistic goal, I think they're trying to force governments to say, you must prosecute, you must fight against companies and people who are hiring children, right? I mean, in the United States, in 60 years ago, 70 years ago, it was common, right? In the 1900s, 100 years ago, it was very common, right? How did the people's mentality change? Well, it was because you were punished if you hired a child, right? I mean, the government was very, very strict, right? You must not hire children. If you hire children, we will destroy your business, right? They'll take everything, right? So as a result, the businesses stopped this, right? But what happened? The child labor went overseas, right? So no longer in America, but now the American shoes, the Nike, the Adidas, the Foot Locker, they are all made now in Indonesia, in other countries all over the world, not in the U.S., right? And looking at it maybe from a bigger perspective, who cares? I mean, Americans are buying their Nikes for $30. The child in Indonesia is making $30 a year, maybe, right? So now it's almost like the West or the United States has benefited from the exploitation of millions of other people, even though that exploitation doesn't exist in their own country because they've made it illegal in their own country.
So,
You know, so it's a hypocritical system, I think. I mean, that might be the root of the problem, but to fix it, I honestly think these other governments need to stand up and say, no, we are not going to continue having these practices in our country because it is hurting our people, right? I think the governments don't care because they're saying, oh, this is bringing money for our country, so why stop, right?
But it's silly because if this continue happening, these
Uh-huh,
children that don't study when they grow up,
uh-huh.
how they can do things for their country
They can't
without
contribute,
having a
right?
study? They can contribute. So
Yeah.
it's a
So,
contradiction.
so really, it's the government, right? I mean, why does Indonesia not say to America or England or any big company, not even a country, any big company, why don't they say, stop, we won't do this anymore. We need to focus on our people. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, right? If a country tells its people, we will fine you, we will destroy you if you hire children, then nobody's going to hire children, right? Yeah, it boils down to money. I mean, people are doing this because they can get away with it. They're making money off of it, right? I think, I mean, financially speaking, I think maybe that's the biggest thing preventing child labor or allowing child labor to still take place. And then also, of course, changing the hearts and minds of people, right? Mentality of people, the mentality of parents, family planning, education. All of that can come after that, I think. But I think initially, people really need to, governments really need to be, they need to have a backbone, right? And they don't have that right now, unfortunately. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. We say in English, what are your 2 cents, right? Dos centavos. Like, what are your 2 cents? It's a very easy way of saying, what is your opinion, right? What is your opinion? So those were my 2 cents. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a small opinion, you know. Solo dos centavos. No es nada. But we say that a lot. Just 2 cents. Okay. So any other questions you guys have? We looked at modals of obligation briefly because I knew you guys already know that. About this article in general, child labor, or any of these other things that we talked about, guys. Do we have any questions?
For one question.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce this word just?
Just, yeah, just 2 cents. Just.
Sometimes I hear some people that pronounce it as just.
No,
Is
they're not
that
doing it
correct?
right. No. In English, we would have to say just.
Just. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
I
like,
was thinking that.
think about it like justice. Like justice, just.
Yeah,
Right?
I was thinking that maybe it was slang or another way, something like gonna or wanna, that they use just. I just want to play or something like that. That was not
No,
correct, right?
that's not correct. No,
Okay.
just is not correct.
Okay, just. Okay.
Just. Yeah. Good question. Sometimes we forget pronunciation in these lessons because you guys overall do an amazing job with pronunciation. So I don't focus a lot on the pronunciation aspect, but you know, usually I mean, if I notice problems in pronunciation, I tell you guys, but you guys all do a very good job with that. Any other questions, guys?
no,
No.
No.
Elisa, Greg, Saul, nobody? Alberto?
no,
No.
Gregory, you're good? You've been silent for a while.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, guys. Well, fantastic. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with all of you. In about 2 weeks, I'll have a lot more classes, but tomorrow night, if you guys would like, same time, I'll be here. And the class tomorrow will be talking about dangerous sandwiches.
Thanks. Okay.
Dangerous
Sounds good.
sandwiches. Exactly. All right, guys. Have a great rest of the night, guys. Thanks for a
Thank
great
you,
class.
Farhan. See you
Yeah.
next time.
Absolutely.
See
Take care,
you
guys.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, Jose, how's it going?
Hello, Farhan. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. This is my first hangout for today.
That's awesome. You haven't done any other classes today?
Not really.
Not
I
really.
have been a little busy.
Nice.
Now
Well,
I can take a rest now.
yeah, welcome. Absolutely. Hey, Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. Were you busy today? Was it a busy day for you, Heidi?
My errand was already finished.
Nice. Did you go for a walk?
And no, I went to the clinic again for my treatment.
Yeah, for your arm, right?
Yeah,
Nice. Is it feeling better?
yeah, much better than yesterday. I don't have any pain now.
Great. Fantastic. Good to hear that. Hey, Lisa, how's it going?
Hey Farhan, I'm doing good. What about you?
Good, good. It's a very nice day today. It's a little bit rainy here, but very calm, and it's a nice night. So I can't people can join. I'll have more options to join my classes.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, you guys can.
In the evening, like this time?
Yeah, in the evening it's going to be this time, and then 1 hour from now. So remember how before I always had the class at 10 o'clock?
Yeah,
I'll
you
have
change it.
the 9 o'clock and the 10 o'clock in about 2 weeks.
Oh,
And I'll also have 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning.
oh, nice.
So that way people, if they want, they can get both ends of the day, the late night and the early morning. But the middle of the day I still need for work and other stuff. But I've organized the end of the night and the beginning of the day to be just for Colingo. So hopefully that works out. If you guys find out that it's still not a good schedule, then I can check how my work schedule is can be changed so that I
You
can take more classes.
begin now 1 hour early. This was good for me.
Yeah, right. So in the future, in about 2 weeks, I'll have this class and the class that was 1 hour later from now. So I'll have
I see.
2 hours. Yeah, back to back 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very fun. So let's get started, guys. We have a good group of people here already. And today we're going to be talking about something actually that is a very important issue in the world internationally, which unfortunately I think in many countries we don't learn too much about or we don't really know about, right? And this is the issue of child labor, right? There are many countries in the world where children, instead of going to school because of the situation, because of the economic situation, because of the social situation, they have to work for a living, even though they are, children still. They are under the age of 16, 15, and we're going to be studying modals of obligation, right? Modals of obligation we use in English to describe situations that we uh, describe the mood of a verb, like ability, possibility, other conditions, right? And obligations are used particularly if you want to make a commitment, if you want to say that something should be required of people, right? It's a way of saying things are required, goals that you set for yourself, right? Goals and objectives that you set for yourself. Those are all examples of modals of obligation. And we're going to be looking at specific types. Three examples are have to, right? Like I have to do something. And then must is another example. And then the final example is should, right? So we're going to be looking at these types of examples of modals of obligation. Before we get started with that, guys, I have a question for all of you. And that question is, should we do more to protect children against unfair labor practices, right? Unfair labor laws, right? And they exist in many parts of the world. Maybe they exist in your country, maybe they exist in a neighboring country, right? Should we do more to protect children from these kind of unfair practices? Let's start with Saul, actually.
Um, Certainly, we need to do more, but the problem is you can do more without the help of the government, because the government have the responsibility to create an environment, uh, per, a perfect environment for the child
Hmm.
and the parents. For example, if in my country, then you will, and you can see a lot of that kind of child working on the street and the traffic light. So the problem is the parents are people that live in the mountain,
Hmm.
and they don't have a job, so they come to the city, and they bring to their children to the city, and here they can't find a job. So the only thing that they can do is 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 put their children to work and the traffic light.
Hmm.
So I guess
So, yeah, go
yes.
ahead, Sal. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's in part it falls from the government,
Uh-huh.
but we need to help them with, I don't know, ONG or centers to take care of them.
Uh-huh. Absolutely right. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Sal, and also, for your particular experience that you see, for example, in your country, where some children are forced to, work near the traffic lights, handing. I've seen it even in the U.S. Maybe not children, but younger people or people who are very poor. They, for example, are selling flowers or food, maybe like vegetables or something on the street when the cars are stopped at the traffic light, right? And I agree with you, Saul. I think we should do more.
But I have a question. But
Yeah.
if you are a child and your parents don't have money to food or to feed you, and
Hmm.
they tell you we need to work in a traffic light, that is considered a bad thing, because you are working to get food, even if your parents don't want to force you. Is the
Wait to finish all my work and go to sleep. Friday tomorrow.
Yes, finally,
The best
almost
day of the
weekend.
week. Exactly.
Yeah.
Friday's the best day. Hey, Grigori, how's it going?
Thank you. It's good. How are you?
Good, good, good to see you. How's your day? How's your week so far this week?
It was regular, ordinary week, not something special.
Nice, fantastic. Nothing special is sometimes good,
Yes,
right? Yeah, we don't want
it's
things to
it's
get too
always
crazy.
good. It's always good.
Yep, fantastic. Hey, Saul, how's it going?
Hi, yeah, how you fine, you?
Good, good. How is life in Nicaragua, I think, right?
Yeah. How is the pronoun of your name? Farhan.
Farhan. Farhan,
Farhan.
yeah. Yeah.
Farhan. Sorry.
Maybe in Spanish it would be written like this.
Farhan.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Farhan.
So, yep, that's things have been good. Things have been good here. How you haven't joined one of my classes in a long time, Saul.
Yes, and the problem is your classes are too late, and,
I
and
know.
and and only I can join the class between 7 to 9 p.m. in my country, and your classes are at the 10, 11, 9
Yeah.
night in the night. I don't know how to say it.
In the
Night.
late night, right?
Yeah. Yes. Lately.
In the late night, uh-huh. So actually, lucky for you, Saul, and for anybody else, I'm going to be changing my schedule. So I will, in 2 weeks, I'll be teaching 5 hours, 3 or 4 hours a day, actually. 4 hours a day for most days. So I'll have 2 classes in the early morning, and I'll also have 2 classes in the afternoon, or in the evening. So depending on when